Chuck Herrera here again, and I'm going to go ahead and teach the bare basics on how to start a fire. So, three aspects to a fire. You have to have an oxidizer, oxygen, you have to have heat, and you have to have fuel. Those three things need to be present, okay? So, the fuel that we're going to use to start the fire, it's called many things. In where I come from, we call it ocote, but in other ways, it's called pitch. It's a pine, an old dead pine tree, where the sap has been has accumulated in one place, and it almost lights a little bit like it's got an accelerant on it, some kind of fuel on it, and so it will light even when it's damp. It's a really good thing to find. You can find it at stores, but if you know what you're looking for, you can find it everywhere. If there's pine trees, you'll find pitch, and it's got a real distinct smell, and it's got a deep color of browns and reds and streaks of white, not white, of lighter brown. In another video, I'll actually go through and talk about identifying it and trying to find it. It is one of the best things to use for starting a fire. Now, a couple of things to get things set up. You want to go ahead and, like what we have here, a way to keep the fire from lighting the ground around you with, you know, the fuel that is around. You've got leaves and pine needles around here, and you don't want it to get out of hand. So what we did is we laid some stone around here, dug a little bit of a pit, but dig it big enough, deep enough to where the oxygen will be able to get underneath the fire so it'll burn up. You want to get progressively bigger on your fuel. You don't want to sit there and light a big log like this, it just won't work. So you have to start from a very small piece. People call it kindling, or we call it palitos, small little pieces of wood. And I've got some here that's going to start the fire, and then we get progressively bigger. So you also want to have a place where you're going to have nice airflow to the bottom of the fire. So last thing I'm going to go ahead and deal with is going to be, how do you stack the wood? So what I usually do is I usually take something, whether it be a rock or something to lay the wood on, so it's at an angle, so you can get underneath there, and it's got plenty of oxygen and plenty of that stuff to burn. So what we're going to go ahead and do is, I've got inside here, I'm putting just a stone to lean the palitos, or the kindling, whatever it is that you want to call it, underneath there. And for the heat, we're going to just use matches. There's different ways of getting heat, whether it be through flint, there's so many different things, and we'll address that a little bit more in detail, but for right now, matches. Getting your small pieces of wood, very small pieces on this stuff, and on top of that, another thing that I want to address is, when you're out and you think you're going to be out, another really good thing to have is a good solid knife. You want to be able to sit there and use it to cut, but if you need to do something like this to cut the little pieces of into a little bit easier pieces to cut, you want it to be able to handle that, and be able to get some of the kindling, and maybe get some stuff to start this fire with. So, good knife. So what we're going to do is, we are going to first take some small pieces of that pitch, and we're going to lean it up against the stone. Okay, so what we're going to do is, like I said, we're going to go ahead and lean it up against that stone, just kind of like this, kind of at an angle, to where you can get some good airflow in there to get it going. Okay, kind of like a little bit of a pyramid if you need to, or however you feel you need to, but it's all got to kind of have some good air. The big thing is having good airflow to allow that flame to get going. Now, once you're ready with that, got your match, and you're going to light that stuff. It doesn't take much for this pitch. And you just put it in there. And then start to let it catch. And you're going to see this really start to light pretty quick. And you want to have everything ready. You don't want to just sit there and say, "Oh my goodness, I've got the fire going. Now let's go look for." And after that, it starts to move pretty quick as far as that. So you start getting a little bit different, bigger pieces of wood. And bare basics, that's kind of how you start a fire. It's and then, like I said, the big thing is take it slow, but slowly start getting bigger and bigger pieces as you start getting it going. And don't smother it. Just dumping stuff on is going to smother it, and it's not going to allow it to start to build. And that's the bare basics of starting a fire. At this point, you're going to have warmth, you're going to have food, you're going to have cooked food, whatever it is that you need the fire for, but that's the bare basics of it. Okay. So that's building a fire. At this point, you know, the big thing is going to be understanding what you're going to need to get those three parts of a fire: the oxygen, the fuel, and the heat. And after that, then you're just going to have to feed it. At this point, you can boil water, you can just have a campfire, whatever it is that you want to build a fire for, but that's the bare basics of it. A couple of key points that I want to point out. Again, don't smother it. Just because you got a flame doesn't mean you can just start throwing stuff on there. It just has to grow and build. Kind of like learning Torah. You just can't jump on the deep end and jump into these deep aspects of it. You've got to build on it and just build bigger and bigger pieces, and then at that point you'll have a fire that you're going to be able to use as a tool for whatever you want to use it for. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that you could please just like, subscribe, and we're going to do more videos like this. So keep coming around. You'll see something new.